Welcome back. Thanks for being here. My name's Chase. This is my garage. Last video we did a brief talk about on what's behind me here, my 1979 Oldsmobile that I'm putting a LB7 Duramax drivetrain in. Today we're going to work on putting this back in after doing some welding. If you haven't seen the last video, you can click on that however you put that on the screen. New to making videos. This is kind of my video vlog, journey, diary, whatever you want to call it, on the process of building this thing. So if you haven't yet, go watch that first video I made. Kind of show you what I did to be able to make this thing fit back in the engine bay. Today we're going to put this back in, make sure everything that I did cut and plate and this and that does work for sure. Off camera I have put it in. It is pretty much what I need now. Once I get this in, we're going to take some measurements. We're going to make sure that the rack and pinion I got is going to work. Alright, so you see I got it back in there for now, just kind of dangling. I got to readjust up here so the back end tilts up a little bit more so it's level again. But as you can see, this thing fits great forward to backwards. I actually do still have enough space once this is more level to put the factory core support back in. Sitting right there for right now. Once that core support goes back in, I actually should have enough space to retain radiator, AC condenser. I can put all the trans coolers, everything up front here. It'll be a little bit farther down the road, but I do have the donor truck's factory air-to-air intercooler that I'm going to try to utilize for the turbo. It will work between the fenders here. It's quite wide, as you can imagine. Gonna have to do a little bit of fabricating with the front frame rails here, at least the bumpers. But yeah, this is in here. Everything clearance wise, you know, once I get this thing leveled out again, you can kind of see here it clears the new cross member that I made. I should be able to put this rack and pinion. It's just kind of hanging here right now by zip ties, but I should be able to put it up here along cross member. Everything kind of lines right up where it needs to go. I got lots of space back there. I have clearance for the oil filter back there still. I don't know if the camera's going to pick it up, but we're going to have clearance for an oil filter, although I am probably going to see about getting an oil filter relocation kit. If you guys have any suggestions on that, put those in the comments for me, please. On this side, everything's going to clear fine. On the last video I showed you, I had actually, let's see if we can get down in there. Probably not, it's dim, but I notched the frame down in here for a couple reasons. I could have got away without doing it, but the exhaust manifold on this side is very close to the frame, which I'm not worried about. But my bigger concern was being able to get to, again, the camera's probably not going to show it, the downpipe flange off the back of the turbo here. Again, that would have had space, and I would have had plenty of room to utilize downpipe off the truck, off of this turbo on the, I guess, the truck side, if you want to call it. But I didn't have enough space to be able to comfortably put a band clamp back on there. So that's another reason why I notched the frame back there, to be able to have space for the band clamp. So I should be able to use the truck's downpipes. I cut off, you know, that good 3-foot section of pipe. You know, exhaust is probably going to be closer to the last thing I do, but should be able to get that in there. I'll probably end up running a straight pipe from that clear to the back of the car. I'm actually planning on probably, because I think that's like a 4 or 4.5 inch exhaust pipe. I plan on making a Y piece and kind of splitting that to 2, probably 3-inch pipes straight back. And the reason I'm doing that is, I guess, more so appearance for anything, because that's a pretty big pipe, and you know, under a truck it's going to be hidden. Well, I stick that thing right under the car, it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. I do plan on putting some type of resonator and muffler on the system, just because I'm trying to keep this thing as quiet as possible. If I'm going to be cruising it or taking it on longer trips or something in the future, you know, I want to be comfortable. I want whoever's riding with me to be comfortable. I've watched plenty of videos by this point where I know that Oldsmobile diesel engine used to be very loud and clanky. I know this engine's going to be loud and clanky to an extent, so I'm going to try to match it. I know I can probably make this engine a lot more quiet. In this video though, we're going to be working on getting the rack and pinion kind of mounted up, mocked up, set up. In the last video I showed you I had taken out the factory steering gearbox, and that's going to give me a couple things here. You know, this whole front space on the frame rail here used to be gearbox, which it cleared everything here. It cleared the fan, no problem. I would have had room for power steering lines, this and that, whatever. But my biggest issue on this side of the car, the driver's side, was engine mount. So now that I have this frame rail open, I'll be able to make an engine mount off the front of the engine and utilize this front space to be able to come up straight to the block. And likewise on the passenger side, which I didn't really have a problem, off the frame up into the block. The factory, I don't know, you still call them a clamshell on the truck, but the factory engine mounts would have been kind of back here. I don't have enough space for the factory mounts, even half of the factory mount, to go from here to the original cross member, and I definitely don't have the space on this side to do so, on the driver's side. So making the mounts somewhere up here on the front of the frame is going to be ideal. Probably going to come out, I'll have some type of bushing, engine mount bushing, and it's going to sit kind of on a pedestal. So let me show you what I plan on doing on getting this power steering rack in, rack and pinion, whatever you want to call it. Came with AN adapter fittings already, which I plan on running AN lines off the pump, off of this, off the Hydro Boost, because this car did have a factory Hydro Boost because it was originally a diesel. Get everything converted over to AN lines. The mounting holes on this rack and pinion are in a good spot already because of where my cross member ended up. Lines up corner to corner pretty good. Now, the thing I'm going to run into, the angle this has to be at, the angle where the shaft has to go here, it's going to make the mounting brackets kind of tilt upwards like this at an angle. So I'm going to have to figure out how to hold some pieces on there so it's angled at the right angle to get that where I need it to go. So what do I plan on doing for that? I conveniently had some of these big bolts in my nut and bolt drawer that fit in these brackets pretty good already. I think they're metric, but that's what I got. I stopped at the store this morning. I found this solid rod. I'm going to attempt to cut down probably 2 or 3 inch pieces off of this and drill the center to make it snug for this bolt to sleeve into. Once this is drilled, that's what I'm going to have welded up to that cross member at hopefully the right angle, and from there mount the rack and pinion where it needs to go. Alright, so we're back about a week later. Change of plans on what I was just doing with the steering. I started with these 1 inch solid rod and I cut it down to these little slugs, and I was going to drill holes through them make something like this. Well, I did this with a drill press and I didn't get it very straight, and the hole's kind of oblonged and it still didn't quite fit the bolt that I had. So I changed plans. I figured it'd be a little safer to punch the bushings out of the rack here, and I had my buddy machine them down, or machine them open, so they fit a 3/4 inch bolt. So that's nice and snug now. There's no play. I got these inner threaded sleeve nut long things, whatever you want to call them. I'm gonna take these. These are actually gonna go up in the cross member now. So once I find the right angle, which is probably actually gonna be kind of like a 45, and that's what the rack's gonna bolt to. That's what that's supposed to look like when both of them are in there. Fingers crossed I don't have to make too many adjustments. So I just had to do some minor cutting, but that's pretty much where it needs to go. I got a little bubble level on there. We're level here horizontally. I got my little angle finder back there. I'm at a 30-degree angle, which puts the steering shaft kind of where it needs to go. I'm even left to right. We're gonna get the welder fired up and tack those in place, and then hopefully move the jack stands here in just a minute. Look at that. So it stayed level. Nothing moved left or right. We're still at our 30-degree angle. Look what showed up in the mail today. I got my new steering shaft. Guess we can open up and see what's here. Got the shaft. Got 3 U-joints. One of these has to be splined for the rack and pinion. One of these has to be keyed for the end of the steering column. And then this will be my pivot point wherever I need to go up and then over. And I saw on here the Heim joint. I believe steering shaft should be able to go through that. I can make a bracket off of wherever I need to. Just let's get these unbagged and then take it over to the car and see what we got. So silly me didn't read the full eBay description. One of these, the splined steering joint that goes on the rack. This is a 36 spline rack. This is a 30 spline joint. Oops, that's my fault. Everything else in the kit should work. So just your 3/4 inch to 3/4 inch shaft joint. The Heim joint fits just fine on the shaft. And then I've got to put some elbow grease in it, but the joint that goes on the end of the steering column will fit. I measured it with the calipers compared to what came off. I've never had to take off a steering shaft that far up the shaft, so when I did, it was pretty hard to get off. Took a lot of hitting this and that, but that did finally come off. That's the original. Then it had a little fancy shoulder keyed bolt, whatever you want to call it, that set down in there so it wouldn't spin out. That was hard to get out too. I guess it would be. It's been sitting in there since 1979, untouched. So I got a new joint coming from Amazon now, but I'm 2 days delayed because of that. I guess I could start mocking up the other stuff. I have a general idea of where it's going to go. When the original factory steering shaft was in here, the exhaust manifold did clear. So with this steering shaft, I'm actually probably going to have it off to the right a little bit, so it's going to come inwards towards the control arm frame side. Once I get there, I'll probably have the Heim joint up in there, holding that off to the side. I don't know where that's going to go just yet, but that'll be keeping everything stable. And then from there, the shaft to shaft joint will angle down again, and there'll just be a little piece right between the actual rack joint and the shaft joint. That part shouldn't take me very long. Obviously I'm probably gonna have to pull the engine back out to get that set up, but I gotta pull the engine out anyways. Maybe you'll see the steering shaft in the next video with all that, because then after that we're gonna have to play with tie rod ends. That has to go backwards 1.5 to 2 inches before it's gonna line up. So that's gonna involve some custom something. I saw Speedway Motors has a normal tie rod in to heim joint kind of adapter piece, so I can still utilize like the little conical shape of a tie rod, so I don't have slop of just putting a bolt through a heim joint. We'll see. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.